And so England is now ruled by a child who believes that he knows best. Just what every country needs is a teenager who's had the fact that he's always right proven to him at the age of 14. And he brings peace to England, not war. And you might think that's great news, but that's not great news to the English aristocracy, nor is it actually great news to the English peasantry, who are used to going to France and looting the country 6 ways to Sunday. And so this country had become rich by attacking the French, and now he has brought peace. And England used to these great warrior kings, and England that had been looking forward to being ruled by the Black Prince of Wales, is now being ruled by the man who invents the cloth handkerchief. He is the first English monarch to be referred to as Your Majesty. Previously, you referred to English kings by their name. So King Edward III is Edward. And so you're used to being on first name terms with these people. Polite, but there are limits. Whereas he will be called Your Majesty. And he will build churches, not castles. And he stresses that he rules because of the divine right of kings. And he builds what we think of as the traditional monarchy, the way you don't show your back. He likes to, when he's not got anything to do, he likes to sit on his throne wearing his crown. England is not used to this. Some of the previous kings couldn't remember where they kept the crown, quite frankly. They were like, oh, that thing, we've got it around here somewhere. We must try and find a box for it or something. But now they've got a man who likes to sit up on a throne wearing his golden crown, being called Your Majesty. And the English are not used to this, and they're not sure they like it, quite frankly. Now, from 1387 to 9, the English aristocracy try to take control from this man. They're called the Lords Appellant, and they try to run the country. But Richard II remembers this, and he doesn't like it. He considers it's an affront to his power. And so from 1397 to 99, you have the time of Richard II's tyranny. All the lords that had tried to run England the old way are executed or exiled from this land. And a crisis starts to build. Now, this crisis, we need to introduce ourselves to a number of people. Firstly, Henry Bolingbroke, who will figure large in our story. He is the son of John of Gaunt. John of Gaunt is the king's uncle, and the man who, when Richard II was a boy, had largely ran the country, one of the richest men of the land. And so Bolingbroke, son of John of Gaunt, has fallen out with, or rather he's in an argument with Mowbray. Now initially, Bolingbroke and Mowbray had supported the king against the Lords Appellant, but they fall out, and Bolingbroke accuses Mowbray of saying that the two of them, Bolingbroke and Mowbray, would be next to suffer at the hands of Richard II's tyranny. On the other hand, Mowbray denies these accusations and says that Bolingbroke's just trying to cause trouble. Neither can agree, and so they decide that there will be trial by combat, and God and the good strong sword arms will decide the right. The two of them go into training. Rocky-style montages are on the offing here. They order specially made armour for the occasion because they're going to look good. They're going to risk everything for this one great trial by combat. They go into some serious training, but just as the two are, the great and the good come and watch this magnificent spectacle, but then just as they're about to lay into each other, Richard II stops them and exiles both of them from the land. People are, as we said, really disappointed, but as are Bolingbroke and Mowbray, both of whom are convinced that they are in the right and they can't see why they should be punished. Soon after, John of Gaunt, one of the richest men in the land, dies, and the exile, Bolingbroke, inherits the incredibly rich estates of the Duchy of Lancaster. And so Bolingbroke is now the Duke of Lancaster. However, Richard II decides that he won't let him inherit his dead father's lands. Now, Richard II is in a strong position. He's destroyed the power of the aristocracy, the Lords Appellant. He'd created a new class of dukes loyal to him. He had been voted taxes for life by Parliament, so wasn't going to have any problems from Parliament. He was at peace with France, and he had a small standing army known as the Cheshire Archers to enforce his will. And so as far as he's concerned, he can get away with grabbing the richest estate of England. Now, on the 18th of March, Richard II grabs the Duchy of Lancaster and then gives it to his supporters, especially Exeter and the Earl of Wiltshire. He goes, right, we're not going to have land in the hands of Bolingbroke. Here, I will keep some and we'll divvy it out. And then Richard II goes off to Ireland to exert his control there too. And he leaves behind Edmund, Duke of York, to act as regent in his place, to rule England while he's off trying to impose royal authority on Ireland. Now, Bolingbroke, however, goes to the French and gains the support of the French, and then in July lands back in England with a tiny force. The disgraced, exiled Archbishop of Canterbury, Thomas Arundel, lands with him. They land at Ravenspur. He quickly seizes control of his dead father's estates and allies with Henry Hotspur Percy, the 35-year-old legend of northern England, at Doncaster. Now, they join forces and they start to gather from the Duchy of Lancaster and from Percy's lands quite a sizable army. Now, Henry Hotspur is a legend, quite frankly, of a leader. He's the one that went up, he's in charge of keeping the north quiet and protecting northern England from the Scots. His idea of keeping England safe from the Scots is to invade Scotland, beat the Scottish Royal Army and capture the Scottish King. This is a man of dangerous ability. And so Hotspur and Bolingbroke have united and started to raise a large force. Richard II hears of this danger and halts his Irish campaign and then heads to join York in Wales. So gets his army onto ships and then starts to go off to Wales to join his regent, York. The royal fleet, however, due to spectacular bad luck, is scattered by a storm, and only a shattered remnant lands at Carmarthen on the 29th of July. The Yorkist forces, however, had already defected by this stage to go and join with Bolingbroke. And so the royal army has been shattered by storms. The Yorkist forces join the Lancastrian forces, all united against Richard II. And on the 10th of August, Richard II and Salisbury are penned up in Conway Castle, while Bolingbroke controls the rest of the country. Richard II has very quickly gone from this position of unassailable strength to he now controls one castle, and Bolingbroke controls the rest of England. So why on earth did so few stand with their king, Richard II? Well, he wasn't actually that unpopular, but many felt that his power had to be curbed. Many people felt that Richard II had got too powerful, had got too big for his boots, and needed to be taken down a few pegs. But in both July and August, Bolingbroke had sworn that he didn't intend to be king himself, that he just wanted to curb the power of Richard II. And so a lot of people are like, oh, what can be the harm? Let Bolingbroke get his rightful estates in Lancaster back, curb the power of Richard II, it's all going to be fine. Certainly Hotspur seems to have believed Bolingbroke. But Bolingbroke knows that Richard II would ultimately try and seek revenge. After all, he had revenged himself on the Lords Appellant, and as long as he was on the throne, Bolingbroke would never be safe. And here Bolingbroke has the king penned up in one castle while he's in control of the country. Now, Bolingbroke therefore claims that Richard II is unfit to rule. But even then, even if Richard II is got out of the way, which he's still alive and still king at the moment, others have a far stronger claim to the throne than Bolingbroke. Now, the heir presumptive, if anything happens to Richard II, is a man called Edmund Mortimer, but he's only 8 years old. He's the Earl of March, he's an important figure, but he's an 8-year-old boy. Now, his claim to the throne would ultimately be taken, after his death, by his nephew, Richard, Duke of York. That will be the Yorkist side in the War of the Roses. They'll have the correct strong claim of Edmund Mortimer. Now, Bolingbroke could have had the stronger claim because the Yorkist claim to the throne comes through the line of the female. Now, Bolingbroke's claim to the throne comes from the male line, father to son, or at least through male claimants. But he can't claim Salic law. If he came out and said, right, England now obeys Salic law, then yes, he would have a stronger claim than the Yorkists of Mortimer, but what then about France?